Well, one of the country's largest movie theater chains, with a few locations right here in Connecticut, is suspending all of its operations.
As Channel 3 New Haven Bureau Chief Matt McFarland explains, Regal Cinema is the latest business to be impacted by the pandemic.
Regal Cinemas closed down its theaters back in mid-March as the coronavirus was spreading. They reopened in late August, but now, after not even 2 months, they're shutting down once again.
Probably the James Bond movie. That's not coming out. And the Batman. The Batman, I wanted to say.
Ernie Smith enjoys a trip to the movies, and while the Regal Cinemas right around the corner from his home is now open, by Friday, it'll be closed again.
They're not letting the movies out anymore either, so I don't see where they have a choice.
Regal, which has theaters in Brantford, Waterbury, Waterford, and Stonington, is closing its nearly 550 movie theaters and more than 7,000 screens in the U.S., along with its locations across Europe.
I think the key thing is that they're shutting down both in the United States and in England, leading to a loss of about 45,000 jobs.
David Cadden, professor emeritus at Quinnipiac University's School of Business, a movie buff himself, says the decision to postpone the release of the latest James Bond film to this spring was a big killer.
They're holding back on several other blockbusters. They're still talking about releasing some of them in December, but we'll see.
Cineworld Group, the parent company of Regal Cinemas, says this is not a decision it made lightly. In response to an increasingly challenging theatrical landscape and sustained key market closures, Regal will suspend operations at all theaters at close of business on Thursday, October 8th, 2020, until further notice. Cineworld adds the plan is to resume operations once the film studios are able to bring their pipeline of major movie releases back to the big screens.
Chains such as Regal make their money on the big blockbuster hits, and if they're not going to release them, then it's not generating sufficient revenue for them to keep them open.
And while Cadden hopes we eventually get back to the point where studios are releasing those major films and moviegoers are returning in sufficient numbers, he says he wouldn't be surprised to see additional theater chains sort of follow Regal's lead and close down temporarily before it gets better. Reporting in Brantford, Matt McFarland, Channel 3 Eyewitness News.